So my first question that I always like to ask coaches heading into new seasons is when you look back to last year, what are some of the lessons, or it could be just one lesson that you've brought with you from the 25 season to get you ready for 26?
Well, I think first and foremost, every season is a different one. I think different teams take on different personalities, and I think that's probably the main thing I've learned, even over my whole coaching career, is that don't expect it to be the same if it went well or not so well, either way. So that's number one. But number two, we had 20 new guys last year, and 12 or 13 of them were freshmen because I had an older group before that. I think we graduated like 15 guys that had been with me for a long time. And so I knew there was going to be some learning moments, and really just kind of teaching them and about our culture and mentality that it takes, those intangible things that you have to have every training session, every game, in order to give yourself a chance to be successful. So, and I think our group has done a pretty good job of that so far. And that year was a learning moment of probably patience for myself, but yet still being demanding.
Have you ever had a year where you have had to be as patient or understanding as a coach, like it sounds like last year was?
I mean, other than probably my first 2 years when I took over the program, just because you're changing some things over at that point as well. But I think it will be something that a lot of coaches have to deal with, no matter what level you're at, just because of the nature of the NCAA and kind of what we're all dealing with in all sports. And players are coming and going, and until they're really here on campus, you don't know if they're all going to be here, depending on what's happening.
What is that landscape like? I mean, I know that a lot of folks may gravitate toward their top sport, like a college football, since we're getting into that season, and they may understand about portaling and all this kind of stuff. But what is it like for you and for Mercer and for your fellow coaches to have to dance through this as well? And just it's like, okay, yeah, someone's supposed to be here, but you can't necessarily bank on it no matter how much they tell you. And then it could be where they move on. What's it like having to navigate this landscape?
Well, I think it is becoming harder and harder to navigate. And I said this to someone the other day, like it's almost like our job has become general managers now instead of head coaches, and which obviously entails a lot of different details in that regard. But I think you have to keep up with what is going on and how these rules are changing. And I wouldn't say necessarily embrace it, but understand them and then try to work within them. And if you don't, and then you're not willing to adapt, or you want to kind of be stuck in your own ways, I think that sometimes you can go down to an unsuccessful path. So, just trying to understand those rules, trying to figure out what would work. And at the same token, I've been a big believer, and I'm not going to give up our principles of what the program has been built on. We're going to continue to keep doing that. Unfortunately for us, we haven't had many kids transfer out that have played a lot of minutes. I think that has to do with our school's a really good school. We've been successful. They've had good experience. We've got good facilities, things like that. But I mean, it's going to come. It's going to happen. So you have to, and you can't take things personal. I think as well.
And at the same time, you look at the roster makeup, and it's here in the for the most part, save a couple of European players and those that are based in Canada, and I think one from Washington State. You've got the southeastern footprint, so they know what the university means. They know what SoCon means to the landscape. So you have players who are coming in as student athletes from high school or from transfer and what have you. They know what to expect when it comes to Mercer slash SoCon slash the Southeast and college soccer.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've one of the reasons, and listen, I'm not from the South. I've been here obviously 19 years, but when I first interviewed for Mercer, I had no idea kind of where it was at and all that and what the South entailed. But one of the reasons I took the job was because of Atlanta. You know, Atlanta has a lot of talented players. I wanted to build it around Georgia kids, and we certainly have gone into Dallas a few times as well and gotten a couple of kids there. And I'm a big believer in it, and there's no right, wrong way of doing anything. It's just what you believe in and how you want to stick to it. And I felt like we've done a really good job of sticking to that. And I do agree with you. I think like they understand the teams that they're playing, and we always talk about you want to play for the front of the jersey, not the back of the jersey. Like this is Mercer University. And it's been successful. It's a proven model. It's been successful, and we're going to continue doing that. And of course, we're going to sprinkle in a kid here and there that might be outside of that, but if you've looked at all my rosters in 19 years, at least 75 or 80% of them have been Georgia kids.
When you're recruiting internationals, I'll use the word interesting. How interesting is it to be recruiting internationals and recruiting them on Macon slash Atlanta and the Southeast and the educational aspect of it? Because when we caught up with Coach Economopoulos, it was the same kind of thing. It's like, yes, I'm bringing them to Mercer because of the academic part, but there's also, big city here, you go to the beach here, big city here. So there's different elements in it, and you're kind of like in the middle of all of those things. If a student athlete wants to experience one thing one direction, one thing another, what's it like recruiting internationals?
Well, I think it's obviously attractive. You know, you're close to Atlanta, which is obviously a major city and major airport. You got Savannah and even Tampa and Florida areas. There's some areas there. So I think it's attractive to them. But for the most part, too, the internationals actually, they are very serious about their academic work as well. And obviously, not everybody can just get into Mercer. So you're looking at a kid that is serious about that, which is really, really important to me. I think if you're going to be a successful player, you need to be successful off the field, being a good person, being a good student, because those things are shortly turning into being a good employee, employer, and maybe a husband or a father at some point if that's what they choose. So, I think maybe I'm still living in the old school world where I believe that's still part of my job, but I'm always that's what I believe in very much. And we teach those moments. Of course, we're competitive and we want to win as much as possible. And I think some internationals, when they see that, they're like, this is going to be a great experience for them. So I think they understand our culture. And I've had some come in and then they leave and they're still working here in the Southeast or in Georgia, and they come back to games all the time. And, that's important to continue to stay in touch with the program.
And you mentioned that, and two of your assistants, your new assistants, get to come back and be in touch with the program. What was it like bringing two former players back to be assistants who know what your expectation level is, and they can be those, translators, for lack of a better word, to the younger student athletes? What's it like bringing back players to be a part of the circle?
Yeah, well, it's actually, I brought three of them back. So we have Fernando Ortega, Carlos Santamaria, and then Dylan Gaither. And I've always been a believer, and if you've looked at my staffs over the years, it's typically somebody I've known for a long time or somebody that has played for us. And I think that's important because we are demanding, and I think they can relate to that with those kids. Hey, he's not doing anything else that he didn't do to us, and look how we turned out. So I know that seems pretty elementary, but they also know how I work and how we do things, and certainly I'm looking for them to bring new ideas to it because I want their opinions. But as soon as we walk out that door, they obviously understand those expectations. So I think it's super important, and all of our assistants. I think we have three active Division I head coaches that have been assistants here, and we have another one that's in the USL Championship as an assistant, and then another assistant that moved on to a Big Ten school. So I think our program's pretty well respected on the outside, and they know they're going to work hard. And part of that is I also give them responsibility, but I also hold them accountable to those roles because every role matters. All of our roles are different, but everyone is just as important or as equal as anything else.
What's it like having the coaching tree develop that way that you're seeing other conferences and USL Championship? What's it like to see the coaching tree kind of fan its branches out like that?
Well, I'll be honest, that's a pretty cool moment for me, and it's a proud moment, and I speak to all of them. And I think it's a thing that it's just a good sentiment to our program that we've worked hard, but also you were successful while you did it, and you got rewarded at the end of the day. And to hear their stories and see them be successful and move on to bigger and better things, like I couldn't be prouder of that. I mean, obviously Ricky Davies, the last one that left, and he just left probably 2 weeks ago, and he's thrown to the mix. We haven't actually touched base. We tried to touch base yesterday, but we missed each other. But that's his one coaching, and I expect him to do great things. And I was totally fine. We try to help them move on to better things because even though, like, hey, that might have put us in a situation, but it's not about us or it's not about me. It's, individually, it's about them and making sure that they're getting all the things that they want in life and in their job.
For someone who doesn't know, and they may have cursory knowledge of the big conferences when it comes to the NCAA, and then there are the Go Fours and the Go Fives, the Group ofs and the mid majors. How would you describe how upside down and crazy the SoCon can get when it comes to conference play?
Yeah, it's a good league. It's a really good league. It's been a competitive league over the years. I think we entered it in 2014. And to be honest with you, it made me think like, because obviously I knew we were getting in it and I knew Furman and Greensboro and some of these other teams. And it made me, I think, step up to another level, whether it was coaching and recruiting and the players as well, step up another level because of the history that it's had. And obviously we saw the runs that Furman and Greensboro have had over the years, and we've been in the NCAA tournament, 5 of the last whatever 8, 9 years, and so it, it's a dogfight, and I know every coach says that conference games are, but I think once they get into when you get into these national tournaments, I think 2 years ago we went and tied North Carolina, we beat South Florida, we beaten good teams, and they've beaten good teams, so it's not to me it's not a surprise. I think soccer, of course, the landscape, when some of these teams or a lot of these bigger power teams have more scholarships than us now, it always used to be that everyone was in that 9.9 range, right? And now you're getting teams that are at that 15, 20, maybe even 25 scholarships. And it is getting a little bit more unfair, but you can use it as an excuse, or you can just get out there and fight and compete and get after it. And you know what? We may only be able to play 12 players and they can play 18. So be it. So, and that's kind of the attitude and mentality I think a lot of the teams take in our league.
What have you learned about yourself in the preseason so far?
Um, I've become more patient as a coach just throughout my entire career, but not less demanding. Not less demanding. And I think I've learned that our team, we can be good. We can be a very good team this year, but we're still figuring things out. We're only 7 days in. We've had 2 preseason matches. One went pretty good. One, there were some positives, but there were some negatives in there that we got to clean up. But it's also against a team that's been in together for 7 weeks because they were there for the summer and we were not. So those are that we're trying to get. Also, just, and I think 26 on our roster. I think we have 13 new players. So again, and I think 2 or 3 of them are transfers, and it's like 9 freshmen. So I'm a big believer in freshmen, but it also takes some time for freshmen to understand the demands physically, meaning how much ground they have to cover. I think our game is getting faster and faster even at the professional level, and how much ground you have to cover and how fast you have to cover it. And it takes some guys to figure that out.
When you're in the preseason and you're still learning what your freshmen can do and your transfers can do and integrating them with your upperclassmen, do you set yourself up so they can troubleshoot on their own on the field in play, or do you just want to sit there and it's like, okay, I want them to understand our way of thinking and then I'll have them troubleshoot, in real time someplace else? How do you handle preseason?
I think it's a lot of teaching, coaching, which it has been the last week. And the games, like, no, I'm not joysticking it, but
Yeah.
I am definitely making comments as needed. And there are some moments where, like, all right, hey, these next 5, 10 minutes, maybe not say much and see what we can figure out and how we can figure it out. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to be on the field, but I'm also going to make sure that they understand that these are our base principles. This is our identity. I think any good team has a team identity. And our identity, I think, is pretty prevalent over the years on what we try to do. And you might have a few tweaks here and there, but so I think it's a common. I think early on, it's a lot of joystick and coaching, teaching on the practice field. When you get to the games, maybe okay, a little bit more in the first game, a little bit less in the second game, and then we have one more on Friday morning. So we'll kind of try to put some things together a little bit more. But we're having a better understanding of what positions we feel the personnel can fit the best because we're still trying to figure out a system, figure out which personnel works the best, and maybe some kind of rotations off of the bench in certain.
I was going to ask. So it's breakfast with Stetson on Friday morning.
Yeah.
What do you in this one, since this is the last one before they start actually counting, and FAU comes on the 20th, if my math is right. What do you want to see out of Friday morning? By the time you hit the lunch line, right there off of campus, what do you want to see with that match once it's over with Stetson Friday morning?
Well, I think, and again, I think, which is a big word, I think we have a good idea of what system we want to kind of move forward with because we've done a couple different ones and different shapes and things like that. So I think we'll go with one that we feel that we're the best in, and we will still lack a few pieces in that, but we're going to try some other guys, whether it's due to injury or and getting NCAA eligibility. So I think we need to feel good about the system that we're in. Number one, we still have a few decisions to make, probably anywhere from 2 to 3 decisions on who would be a starter in certain areas. So I think we need to figure that out. And then ultimately, as a team, how do we bounce back, from maybe not a so-called good performance the last exhibition because it's a season, right? Like you're going to have some setbacks, and just like I told him last night, we'll be back in Macon, Georgia, late tonight, and tomorrow morning the sun's up and we get back to work. And the good thing is we're still 0-0-0, so just like everybody else. And so I think in getting a little bit fitter. This heat is brutal,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to deal with it because we're going to be playing in it early. So I think a lot of those, just kind of wrapping up some final things.
And we can't wait.
But to be honest with you,
Yeah.
there is so much to get in,
Oh, yeah.
and that you have to prioritize because you don't have all the time in the world to get it all in. So we're really trying to prioritize maybe what are the 3 or 4 things that we need to get in and we need to be really good at.
And we'll be keeping an eye on it. Breakfast with Stetson. Breakfast with Stetson on Friday morning. So I guess technically, are you going to call it breakfast at Betts or brunch at Betts? I mean, I'm thinking out loud. I'm trying to get folks in the door, and I want them to. Is it an open door thing where folks can come over and see what's going on over at Betts at 10:00 on Friday morning?
Oh yeah, it's open, and it would be great if we can get some people there. It'd be awesome to see some people.
So it's 10:00 Friday morning at Betts. Stetson comes to visit Mercer, and then around the corner on the 20th, season openers FAU comes to town. Coach, it's great to see you. Thanks for peeling back the curtain a little bit and giving us the education as you get ready for another crazy season in the SoCon. Thanks for dropping by, and come by anytime. Be keeping an eye on things. We'll see you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.